In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your bellow on your Chevy Colorado. It's located on your front end, on your tie rod. Using a pry bar, you're going to remove your hubcap. Using a 19mm socket, we're going to remove our wheel. Remove your wheel. To begin, you're going to want to undo your jam nut. To do that, you're going to use a 24mm wrench and pull down, if you're in front of it, on the front of the truck. You're going to crack that loose. You don't want this to move with it. So we're going to put a wrench on this side and make sure it doesn't move and free it up from there. So after you unjam that, if this inner tie rod is moving with it, you want to separate that out. So use a 16mm on these flat edges here. Hold it still while you go back and forth. All right, so keep it unjammed. And I'm going to remove my wrench on that side. I'm going to mark everything and just know where it was at one point. And we're also going to count rotations when we take off this outer tie rod. Using a 21mm socket, I'm going to put it on this nut on the top. And I'm going to use my impact gun to loosen it up. Now we're going to hit it right here, and that's going to pop the tie rod down. Gently, you can tap it here, but don't smash it. You could turn your wheel out if you need to. And that'll help drop that out. And just set it off to the side. And now we're going to undo this end. I'm going to hold my inner tie rod still as I do some turns. We're going to count a full turn. So that's another reason why I like to mark it, because there's your yellow line. So I'm going to start here. And when that goes all the way around, that's going to be one turn. We're doing this so the alignment for the toe isn't off when you put it back together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16. So I usually write the number somewhere. I'm going to hold my inner tie rod with my 16mm wrench, and we're going to take off our jam nut. This is going to let us take that bellow off. Now I'm going to use some pliers, and I'm going to squeeze this hose clamp and take it off and move this bellow around and pull it off. Use some kind of plier and take that off. This should be able to be moved a little bit. And now we're going to undo the clamp in the back on the steering rack. So on the other end of this bellow is this area, and there's a clamp on there. And the clamp has like a little raised space where you're going to jam a screwdriver in and then twist it around to loosen up the clamp. And that should release this bellow enough to get it off. So we're going to go in through the top, find that little space in that clamp. You might have to hunt for it. It should be right at the top though. Get it in there. I have it in there now, and now I'm just gonna try to break that clamp off. We're gonna replace it with a zip tie. So again, you're just trying to spread it out so that you can get this bellow off. So bend it, screwdriver, now that it's a bigger opening. And I'm just gonna twist it. That should be loose enough. Now that you've loosened your clamp and you know it's loose from here, we're going to pull this off. Now let's put our bellow on, or our boot. I'm going to put my zip tie on first. And just get it ready. Now slide the boot over. We're going to push it all the way back so it's on the rack and tighten it down with that zip tie. I'm going to push the bellow on all the way. Then you're going to put your zip tie in, tighten it down. Once that's tight, you can cut the excess off. I'm going to use wire cutters for that. Give it a good yank, make sure it stays stable and on. And now we're going to go put the zip tie on the other end. I'm going to put some silicone paste in here, and that's going to help it slip when whoever's doing the alignment is doing an alignment. I have a screwdriver in there so it doesn't collect air or get air tight. You don't want air in there. It'll cause a vacuum and the boot won't be happy. Anyway, so you want that to be able to swivel a little bit so this can turn. Now let's put our zip tie on. Gotta look at it, make sure it's going the right way. You can also reuse that clamp if you want. A note to remember is don't over tighten this. You want it to be able to spin. If you over tighten it, it's not going to spin, and then when you go to an adjustment for the toe, this boot isn't going to be able to, it's going to get all kinked and messed up. So you just want it a little bit snug. Check your work, make sure it's not too tight. That's it. Now let's put our tie rod end on. Put our nut on, our jam nut. Spin that right on. We're going to bring it all the way up, but just about all the way up so we have plenty of threads, because we're going to need 16 of them. Now we're going to put our tie rod end on using that crayon mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 about. I'm going to put our jam nut down, at least closer to the end. And we're going to snug it up a little bit, but leave it enough so you can move it a little bit to get it in the knuckle. Let's put our tie rod in the knuckle. Move it over. If you need to move your stud for the tie rod, go right ahead. I have a trick for that. You put a socket on top and you can move it around. Makes it easier. Once you get it lined up, you can give it a little tap if you need to. Is that your castle nut? You're going to hold pressure on it, and you're going to zip it on. And now we're going to torque that. Let's torque this nut to 33 foot-pounds, and then we're going to go another quarter of a turn. That's 33, and now we're going to go a quarter of a turn. Check where that... Okay, I'm going to go a little bit more. Making sure that hole lines up with the castle nut. Looking good. Now we're going to get our cotter pin and put that in. Put your cotter pin in. I usually have the long side on top. Now we're going to bend that up and over. And then we're going to take the other end and you can just cut it off. Now we're going to tighten our jam nut. You can torque it to 55 foot-pounds. I don't have a crow's foot big enough, so I'm going to use my 24mm wrench. So snug it up and go about 1/8 of a turn more, and that'll tighten it up. Put your wheel on. Put your lug nuts on. You're going to tighten your lug nuts in a crisscross manner using a 19mm socket. Make sure you walk the wheel on with that bottom one. Now you can torque the wheel. We're going to torque our wheel to 103 foot-pounds. You're going to do that in a crisscross manner. Put your hubcap on by lining up the lug nuts. Tap it on.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.